So, so much new supply is arriving. All this new supply has never gotten a single booking, and all those owners are hungry. All those owners are in
Yeah.
fact desperate to get their first sale. Excellent question. So I would say this then. So two things we need to understand in terms of how the markets work here in Bali. First thing is this: February in any year is the lowest month of the year. Why? February is typically the time of year where the fewest number of travelers have a holiday. So because of that, and also I guess some other reasons too, typically you'll see the lowest performance in terms of occupancy, daily rates, and overall revenue performance in February over any particular time of year. It's also when the fewest travelers come to Bali. So anybody who is looking to essentially effectively secure a long-term lease or get a sale is also facing challenges because there's the fewest number of potential buyers coming to the market too as well. So you're correct that essentially February, no matter what particular year it is generally the lowest point of the year and the time of year when you can expect the least amount of financial benefit in all three segments, whether it's short-term rental, long-term rentals, or sales. Let me correct myself on long-term rentals now. I have a hypothesis at this point that long-term rentals
Mhm.
in the traditional way no longer exist, and I'll tell you why. At the beginning or at the end of COVID and the beginning of, you could say, the recovery of Bali after COVID, there was an explosion in the number of revenge travelers, but also, I would say, people seeking to relocate. And so during that particular opening period, a lot of properties went into long-term leases from people who were looking for a lifestyle change and who didn't need a lifestyle change after being locked up for 2 years in your house.
Mm.
So there was a huge surge in the amount of demand for long-term leases. Our evidence now has shown us this. I'm also the CEO of Bukit Vista in addition to being a speaker on this show. So we have what is probably the third or fourth most highly ranked website for long-term rentals.
Mhm.
But each year we see fewer and fewer inquiries for guests looking for a long-term rental. But we see lots of offers to list on our platforms and on our website for people who are looking to lease their properties out for a year. My evidence shows that I think the contraction of this particular marketplace is happening very quickly and it's most likely going to disappear. And the reason why is simply this. Back to our initial discussion about market turbulence
Mm.
and the emergence of new supply in the marketplace. So much new supply is arriving. All this new supply has never gotten a single booking, and all those owners are hungry. All those owners are in
Yeah.
fact desperate to get their first sale. They're more than willing to negotiate with anybody for either a daily rate or a monthly rate. This is the buyer's market right now, not a seller's market. When there is a seller's market, such as right after COVID, and there was a contraction in supply and all this demand comes in, sellers could be very demanding. They could be very, I would
Mm.
say, they could pick whoever was the highest bidder. And the best bidder is the person who's going to give you the most money upfront for an entire year.
Mm.
However, we've seen that there is a shift in the marketplace, and that type of buyer no longer exists. If you do get that type of buyer, they will expect that you give them a wholesale rate, which is much below what the previous rates have been, because they're essentially taking a problem off your hands. Okay. Otherwise, they will essentially bargain and they will win on a month-to-month rental. And if you don't give it to them, there is somebody else with an empty property that will. And the competition to gain the very limited number of residential visitors is extremely high. And make no mistake about it, that is only going to probably get worse over time. So that is a tendency that I'm seeing. And also the particular expectation as Bali globalizes for people to pay a year's rent upfront, that's just
Mhm.
not really compatible with how anybody pays rent in any other part of the world. And so you're not going to see
Mm.
essentially that particular culture, I think, continue for very long, unless you are truly offering a very low wholesale rate per night for your property. And that kind of takes away the investment value of a long-term rental. So that's just to be clear, and that's fairly obvious to I think anybody with any particular type of common sense. Okay, so February is going to be bad. Is it worse than last year? Yes, it is worse than last year for the reasons that I just
Yeah.
spoke about. The reason it's worse than last year is
Mhm.
because simply the previous years, we still saw travelers come from major markets to essentially inhabit, come in. So it looks like it's going to be a bit more competitive this year to gain the remaining visitors coming in. Now, that's not all bad news and everything, but in terms of the long-term trend, I think that things probably will get better, but at least for the next few months again, which I had said before about in my previous
Mhm.
market turbulence, it's going to be rough. And this probably will be the roughest month of this sequence of market turbulence that we're experiencing. I'm welcoming to all feedback. I'm prepared to answer any difficult question. I have a Ask Me Anything for our regular property owners who do actually work with our company at Bukit Vista. And maybe you can teach me something, right? But for the past 15 years, I have seen that I have a pretty good track record on getting these particular things right. And that's why we have a successful business here, right? And we're able to build a YouTube channel. Okay, all right. That's pretty much then the I hope the nuts of it. And hopefully this is a good discussion that will lead to more discussions. And we look forward to talking with our audience again every month. We'll be back again to talk about February and to see if we were correct in our predictions. Thank you. Okay, see you guys. Have a nice day.